Good evening, Darren.
Evening, Darren. We were mid-rant about journalists and stuff. Carry on. Tell me.
Okay, so this obviously there's a bit of lag with us making the video. So we're making this video on the day that Rishi Sunak becomes Prime Minister. And you were congratulating me on a tweet I did today where Robert Peston was saying, Rishi Sunak, is too jittery in talks. He needs to calm down. And I did the Dorothy Parker-esque comeback. No, you need to calm down more, like. And actually, I think it was good tweeting. I'm quite pleased with myself. And then, we were just talking like, what was you saying, that they never turn themselves off, do they? Those guys?
No, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how they manage to ever write a single article because they're always tweeting about politics. How do they find time to write about politics?
They're always tweeting about politics, and yet, because if there's no way he'll read that comic, because if you look at his comments, it's just wall-to-wall abuse.
Yeah,
it's just like I think some of those guys, like, both sides hate them. It's almost like everyone thinks the BBC is biased, right?
Yeah, everyone does. Yeah.
Like against them or something. They. Yeah. I think there is an element where they can't win.
Yeah.
But I think the thing about them that some of those guys that I find hard is that they just seem a little bit too excited about it. And,
yes.
And that's, and some of it is exciting. In the last couple of weeks, there's been some, apart from our society falling apart, it's still good telly, so I do get that.
Yeah.
But I find it like weird when they totally disengage from, when they're sort of foaming at the mouth about, Boris or Liz Truss done something. And it's like, guys, it's not a football match. This is real. I've never seen the like before in 20 years at the House of Commons. It's really fun. It seems to be what they're saying.
Yes. Yeah. I think you're right, though. I think it's a good point that it's become ever more like a football match where, there are fewer consequences in football matches.
Or a soap opera, maybe.
Oh, it's always very much a soap opera. Yeah. Really is.
And I feel like everyone's got their favourite villain as well. Like, I think a lot of people don't like Peston, and obviously a lot of people don't like Kunzberg. A lot of people.
A lot of people hate Laura Kunzberg.
Yeah.
She gets a lot of stick.
But who knows? Who knows why certain ones get under your skin? But for me, it's Nick Robinson. I don't know. He just seemed to, when Farage was such a minor story, we were amused. Like, we were amused at the fact that there was this right-wing nationalist guy. We couldn't conceive of it, really. That'll never have legs,
Yeah, what an oddball. Look, his plane crashed.
Exactly. And Robinson was just so excited by it. You could literally see the erection in his trousers when he was talking about Farage. And I do think sometimes these guys make these things come true. Just remember going, I think he could be a real political heavyweight, this guy, and stuff. It's like, really? It's like, actually, he can. If you keep saying he can, then he can.
Yep. Yeah.
And so, yeah,
very much so.
That was he was my particular annoyance. But yeah, and then of course, what happened was, I don't know if you remember this. Was it about a year ago? No, it was nearly 2 years ago. Then all of a sudden, I got asked to be on the Today program.
Oh, this rings a bell.
Yeah.
Was it Thankful Villages?
No, it wasn't. It was a really silly little thing I did, and it was when there were all those riots in the US. You know,
over George Floyd.
No. Right,
the Capitol.
Yes, thank you. Yes, Capitol Hill and all that stuff. Yeah. And I, because it was Trump going, oh, just before I show you what I'm drinking Adams Broadside.
Oh, very nice.
And I started watching CNN. I'd never watched CNN much before, and I quite liked watching the election and then watching all of that stuff. And as we say, some of this stuff's terrible, but it's also good telling.
Yeah. Of course, yeah.
And so I just started playing one of my guitars. I was playing my guitar, and it seemed like I was playing quite soothing music whilst watching, the world fall apart. And so I did it really quickly. I did this, I think there's 7 tracks, and I did them for each day of the week, and I called it Music to Watch News By.
Yeah. This rings a bell now. Yeah.
And it wasn't even a proper record. I literally did it and released it on the Monday. And I didn't do anything. I didn't give it to a record company or anything. I just put it on Bandcamp and go, here you go. If you're getting down watching the news, perhaps turn the sound down. And I've done a few, and they were just little finger picky instrumentals. There was no lyrics or whatever. And then about 2 days later, the Today program rang me up and said, would you like to be on the Today program? I was like, yeah, right. Which was funny as well, because lots of people, I think I mentioned it on Twitter, and of course a lot of people, as we say, were going, you give them what for, Darren? Particularly your friend of mine, Robert Rossfer, I remember saying, right, I can't remember what he said, but I remember him thinking, watch your back there. It's like, I think it's fine. I think they're just gonna talk to me about my music or whatever. But of course, the first thought I had was, oh fucking hell! I hope I don't get Robinson.
Yeah.
Because I don't really. I mean, that thing I did with Pest and Stay, I don't really do that. Really, I try and my Twitter is largely,
No, this is why. This is why I laughed, because I rarely see that from you.
Yeah, I made a record called Chance for Socialists about 10 years ago. If you don't know what I think about most things, but I did kind of think, well, I can still imagine, they are journalists after all, so maybe they would do due diligence if let's just make sure he hasn't tweeted one of the presenters of the Today program.
I reckon the due diligence would be looking at your wiki page, though, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Anyway, it all passed without a hitch, and I was not interviewed by Nick Robinson. In fact, I'm struggling to remember who I was interviewed, because I can't listen to Today program. It does get the better of me. It does. Right. It does wind me up. So I get my news from other places, Twitter mainly.
It's much more. That's never going to wind you up, is it? Reading the news on Twitter.
You know what I'm surprised about on Twitter?
Right. Yeah.
Especially the last couple of weeks. I mean, no one's really asked. No one on Twitter seems to have asked for a general election. I mean, I would have thought.
I've not seen that. Not seen that.
I mean, do these people even like democracy?
Patently not. Joking aside.
I'll tell you what I want, changing the subject completely before I get into too much trouble.
I know. Before we lose everybody.
Everybody. You went to a shop today, and I want to ask you about it. What shop did you go to?
Okay, go on.
What shop did you go to today? You said I spoke to you, and you said I'm in.
I went to Hobbycraft.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I quite like Hobbycraft. It's like when I was young, and I used to like. I still do. I like dystopias and I like post-apocalyptic things.
Yeah.
And when I was in B&Q, I would sometimes think that if there's a zombie apocalypse, this is where I'm coming, and I'm going to be like Hannibal in the A-Team. And I'm going to use those trolley wheels over there. And I'm going to use that metal thing there, and it's going to be fine. I'm going to build a tank out of everything in this shop. It's like B&Q and those sort of DIY stores are endless possibilities inside them, aren't they? And likewise, Hobbycraft.
For zombie apocalypse.
No. Maybe the possibilities are slightly different.
Endless artistic possibilities.
Isn't it where some people? I mean, what did you buy? Tell me what you bought.
Nothing. I was looking at pens, but Becky bought some thread for her sewing.
Hasn't it got like lots of doilies and glittery stickers and things like that?
They have all of that. Yeah, definitely got all of that. But I'm afraid I didn't buy any of those.
It's okay.
So what possibilities do you see in Hobbycraft?
I don't know, just anything. You could make a cardboard theatre or make a soft toy or
I did make.
I mean, it's like the opposite of B&Q, that you could make anything as long as it wasn't useful, I suppose. Which I guess is the idea of a hobby or a craft, I suppose.
I bought myself a few months back from Hobbycraft a punch needle kit or needle punch kit. I'm not sure what the correct term is. And it's kind of like a little tapestry style thing, and it was a llama. And I sat in the garden. I'm very lucky I've got a garden. Sat in the garden on a sunny day this summer, and I did my punch needle llama, but I gave it a mustache and some
I was
teeth.
just going to say, I can't imagine you would have done it and just stuck to the rules.
No, I didn't. No, I mean, my first part of the process was learning how to do punch needles, so I was sticking to the rules then. And then once I got kind of confident, I was like, well, this llama needs an actual face with them. Needs a human face, this llama. So yeah,
I've got to be honest. I don't know what you're talking about.
No, it's fine. If I knew we were talking about this, I'd have got it ready and showed you, but can't.
Punch needle kit.
Yeah.
Okay.
People who are watching this, they probably spend all the time on YouTube. They've probably seen it on YouTube already. Punch needle kit. Mind you don't, and you live on YouTube.
I do a little bit. I was watching a bit of YouTube. I was watching a little bit of YouTube before we started tonight.
I like it. Before you tell me what you're watching, so I'm going to ask, you know my favourite thing about Hobbycraft?
Tell me.
It's the music that gets played there. They're all cover versions of popular pop songs. It's like the old Top of the Pops albums in the 70s. They're too stingy to pay PPS for the actual versions.
Oh, so like the old Top of the Pops records, that sort.
Exactly like that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Today they were playing that song that was done by, do you remember Lamar from Fame Academy?
Yeah, but you know who I thought of?
Who?
Lamar,
yeah. Definitely easily confused.
Musically.
Similar name. Well, I mean, not easily confused in terms of the singing voice or anything. But
you know who also gets thrown into this little mix for Grandad here is Kendrick
Lamar.
No, yes,
and Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah.
Oh God. Oh, there's too many now.
Yeah.
But I remember thinking, I liked Lamar, and this song is a good one. So that's what I like in Hobbycraft. It's the cover versions.
You were going to.
So what were you watching on YouTube?
I watch these guys, and their channel is called Red Letter Media, and there's mainly it's two guys called Jay and Mike.
Yeah.
And they review films, and they review films that are on general release. Like a lot of things, they started moving into reviewing things on Netflix and stuff. But they kind of got known because Mike did this review of Star Wars: The Phantom Menace that was something like 3.5 hours long. Like the review was like twice as long as the film, and it became a kind of internet thing. This like, look what this guy has done, this stupid thing. But what's kind of they're not always great, but sometimes they're great. But they do it around a sort of a skit. So the idea is that they've got several series, but one is called Half in the Bag. And in Half in the Bag, they both play VHS, VCR repairmen. And the idea is they repair things, and they play these characters. And each one starts off with a skit. And then at some point they stop and they say, "Oh, have you seen this movie?" And then they start talking about this movie for a bit. And there's even sort of storylines that go through them. They're like constantly repairing the video, the VCR of this one guy called Mr. Plinkett. And yeah, they like horror a bit more than I do, but but they're good. And they were reviewing. I was watching them, and they were reviewing this thing on Netflix called Dahmer, which was about Jeffrey Dahmer. Yeah, and I thought that they were being quite thoughtful about it, because even though they're horror guys, they were sort of discussing the ethics of it, the ethics of doing a program about Jeffrey Dahmer. And I think the program itself, so this is a 10-part program on Netflix, and I think it is quite interesting because what they are trying to do, whether or not they succeed or not, but what they are trying to do is very much do something about the victim's point of view, and they're very much trying to do something about the phenomenon of Dahmer itself. So in a way it gets a little meta, because there's one point towards the end where the dad is trying to sell the film rights, and so they're talking about the industry around Dahmer whilst themselves making a film about Dahmer. Yeah.
Well, have you don't know if you can see your screen where your phone is, have you heard of this? My Friend Dahmer.
That came up in their conversation. So I have heard of it, but I've only heard of it tonight. I think there's a comic before that, and in the Netflix series, they talk about a comic. Somebody says to him, "They've made a comic about you." But there's also a film called My Friend Dharma. So has somebody made a film based on the comic?
Yeah, this is about the artist Durf. I've no idea if that's his real name, by the way, Durf. It might well be, knowing America and the strange variety of names they have. But it's he went to school with Jeffrey Dahmer. And he became Durf became a comic artist, and I think a journalist as well. This is all about his experiences of going to school with Jeffrey Dahmer, what Jeffrey Dahmer was like at high school. It's quite a disturbing book. It's bound to be, isn't it, Jeffrey Dahmer's story?
Yeah, I mean, the Netflix program, I can't in any meaningful way recommend it. I don't think you can ever recommend something like that. It's gruesome. And if you in any way think I don't think I want to watch that, you're probably right. You probably don't.
Yeah. Well, this is kind of like, it sounds, it's an awful term to use, but it's kind of like the Jeffrey Dahmer origin story.
Yeah.
How he it doesn't claim to know why he was how he was and how he became what he became, but it kind of offers you glimpses of his life that may explain partially why he became that way, but not totally, because other people have similar growing up experiences to Jeffrey Dahmer and never turned into serial killers. I think this
series comes to a similar conclusion, really. I think it sort of, it might try and point at little things, but I think ultimately the Netflix series is sort of saying there isn't a reason why this happened. How could there be? It's almost like
no.
It's almost unthinkable to even think there could be a reason that would explain why somebody could be like this. I mean, I don't know if anyone listening doesn't know what he did, but it was really, really, really naughty. Like the naughty,
bit of a bad lad.
Yeah, like if you think of the naughtiest thing you've done, times it by 100. And Jeffrey Dahmer was more naughty than that.
Yeah. But I recommend that book, My Friend Dahmer. It's really well drawn. It's really well told as well.
Well, here I am saying I watched it, and here I am saying I watched a podcast after about it. So I have to admit, being a little bit into true crime, and I've listened to
people are.
Loads of people are, and much in the same way as it might be unexplainable to say, why Jeffrey Dahmer did those things or what the causes were. I also find it equally hard to explain why what I get out of it. I find that hard to explain. Someone says to me, "Oh God, I couldn't listen to all that." I would think, that seems a reasonable response.
Well, I think people do say that. I think, though, that sit them down with a true crime podcast or in front of maybe a true crime documentary, I think most people I know will be hooked by it.
There's a girl I used to talk to on the dog walking the dog walking scene down here in South London, and she would recommend a lot of podcasts to me, and and they were great. And podcasts is a really good place for this stuff. Actually, it's a lot better to not see it. You don't need to. I don't need to see anyone getting sawed in half.
No,
I just need to. No. I think. So, I mean, there's a couple of things. I like them being caught. I like stories where the baddie gets caught, and you know, I like that in Sherlock Holmes, but I also like it in real life. So if there's any kind of sleuthing to be done, and if in the end, you know, the bad guy goes to jail, I feel it sort of gives me a little bit of faith in the world. Yeah. I think also the other thing me and Jamie used to talk about was the idea that, how to explain this, that it's kind of comforting to know that there's really bad things in the world that aren't happening to you in a way.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, you're right. Well, I used to work at Waterstones in Bolton.
Right.
And true crime section was so popular. And that was really before true crime podcasts were a thing. So, you know, I'm not surprised at all that they became popular. And it's interesting because us booksellers, all our fucking Balzac reading ponces, we're kind of...
Southerners, you mean?
Well, no, we're all Northerners. But we're not all booksellers, I'm telling you. I'm sure of this. Would stick our noses up turn our noses up at people who read true crime.
Right.
That, oh, this isn't literature. You know, it's no better than tabloid journalism. This is just rubbish. And a lot of it is because a lot of true crime genre is all about look at these bad boy gangsters or football hooligan firms and stuff like that. So
right, yeah.
And I kind of feel we're right to be a bit sniffy about that because it's kind of glorifying inner city violence, most of it. But you know, the books about, for want of a better phrase, serial killer books are extremely interesting and disturbing looks into the psyche of human brains.
Yeah, I've never read.
Really fascinating.
I've never read a true crime book. I think it's quite a recent thing. I think the thing I really got into a few years ago was actually podcasts.
Yeah, kind of recent, but In Cold Blood, was that like 60s?
Oh yeah.
Truman Capote. That's a really good book.
Yeah, I've never read it, but I've seen both those films that are essentially about it. And isn't In Cold Blood itself also a film?
Yes. Yeah.
But the film that both those films, one was Seymour Hoffman playing.
Yeah, that's right.
And the other one was what's his name from Detectorists?
Toby Jones.
Toby Jones played Capote in another adaptation of In Cold Blood.
Right.
And they sort of unfortunately came out at the same time, which is a bit unfortunate.
Yeah, it often happens, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I've just remembered, I have to mention this. A member of my extended family has been in a true crime book.
Okay. Is that something we can talk about here, or is it?
Yes, it is. Because it's funny. You've met me, Darren, haven't you?
Yeah.
We're not breaking the impression that maybe some of our viewers have that we never ever meet, and this is all a long distance relationship.
We've actually met twice, haven't we? No, 3 times. No,
3 times. Yeah. So would you say that I look like a bit of a fighter.
No, I would say, you're in that very small collection of men that I've put into a folder. I could have them.
Well, I mean, YouTubers are known for setting up boxing matches, so maybe that's something we can sort out one day. Sell out Manchester Arena. Well, no, I agree. I'm a very gentleman. Well, there's a member of my extended family, my mum's cousin, who was in both TV series and a book called Hard Bastards. And it was all about Britain's hardest men. And my mum's cousin was alleged to be one of Britain's hardest men.
Why are we laughing? It's not funny. He's probably going to kill us now because we're laughing at him on the YouTube.
He's not going to kill us. He won't kill us because he loves my mum. So, this is the way thing. I met him.
They always do.
They always do.
Yeah, they always love their mum. The craze. They look after their own.
Well, he was kind of in it for having some sort of wrestling club, but I think there are rumours of slightly more robust activities. We say. So yeah, I just thought that might amuse you to find that out.
It does amuse me.
But think on, you're talking about that boxing match. I can get some pretty good lessons, and I'll learn all the dirty tricks. So do not underestimate me. Still makes me laugh that when the book came into Waterstones, and I didn't know, and I was flicking through it because when you open the unpack the box, and it was like newly out, so we had like 5 copies coming,
right?
And he's like, "Oh God, what's this? What's this rubbish?" Flicking through it. Oh my God, it's my mum's cousin. He's from Bolton. Very strange. So, Darren, I'm speaking of serial killers. Actually,
yeah.
I started reading. Where did I put it? It might be on the other side of the room. I don't know. I've just realised I've now got 2 serial killer comic books, graphic novels, which is slightly disturbing.
What's the other one on? Oh,
From Hell.
Yeah. Oh wow, we did segue that nicely. That almost looked planned.
Yeah.
Because who are you painting there?
I'm painting Alan Moore, who wrote this. Art by Eddie Campbell. Incidentally, I saw a really good little interview clip with Eddie Campbell, and he was talking about From Hell, and he said he was a little frustrated with one of the chapters he drew. He's having problems making all the arms of all these Victorian gentlemen in the book, making them all too long. And he realised it's because he was putting the pockets too low and had to extend the arms to reach the pockets. So this book is about Jack the Ripper.
Yes, of course.
Or more, from what I've read so far, actually, and what I gather, it's more an exploration of Jack the Ripper and the events. I'm 4 chapters in. It's a hefty book, and it's really, really interesting. The artwork is very interesting. It's very scratchy.
Oh yeah. Is every page? Oh no, it's not. I was going to say, is every page a 3x3 grid?
No. This would be a 9x9 with the top one.
3x3.
3x3.
Yeah.
It kind of all is 3x3 actually, but it's just some of the frames extend across.
I quite like that.
That's still the 3x3 grid, but you've got
okay.
top one's vein into a landscape.
So, as we know, my favorite comic artist is Jamie Hernandez. I think he has done 3x3, but he does 2x4.
Right.
And he kind of quite religiously stays to that format.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
But he didn't when he first started. When he first started, he did all sorts of splash frames.
Yeah. I'm doing a comic that's 2x4. And
what's the comic? What's the comic you're doing?
It's written by a guy called Ray Newman, who we both know off Twitter.
Oh well, I don't really know. I mean, I only know him because you were talking to him and he seemed interesting. But I don't. Yeah. Tell me, because I don't know anything about this.
Tell you about Ray.
Can you tell us? Because if it's something you're working on,
I can tell you about the comic.
Yeah,
I can tell you. I'm not going to give the story away because there's I won't give the twists away. There's a really good twist in it. It's set in London in 1966, and it's we have a character called Elman, who he's travelled from the east of Europe, so from the other side of the Iron Curtain, to London. And he's been he's stuck in this bedsit whilst people come and ask him questions about where he's been and who he knows. So it's obvious that he's probably defected.
Right.
And he's got information that the British want to find out. But all throughout this, he can't sleep. He has real trouble sleeping. It's called Elman Can't Sleep. And he keeps suffering strange flashbacks that he doesn't quite understand, and which you assume is, it's because of this sleep deprivation. And that's kind of all I want to say really about the story itself. But it was a great story that Ray wrote as a short story, and then said that he'd love to see me turn it into a comic.
And is this relationship just from online, from Twitter?
Just from Twitter, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Just from chatting and stuff, and he'd seen my drawings and I'd read his short story on his blog. And I really loved the story. It's very reminiscent, and it's meant to be, of things like the Ipcress File and The Prisoner. Right. So it's really good. So when he said, I'd love to see you draw this, me having never really drawn a comic before, but he'd seen me starting to try, I just jumped at it. Some may say foolhardily, including myself, really, because one thing I've realised is that drawing a comic is really, really, really fucking difficult.
What's difficult? Tell us what's difficult about it.
I think the story of a comic tells you what art style it should be drawn in. For instance, this From Hell that I'm reading now, it kind of looks Victorian in its very scratchy sort of artwork, and it looks it kind of feels Jack the Ripper in its scratchiness and its primitive sort of style. and it really fits the story. And with mine, I felt that it needed to look like a classic, kind of like Eagle comic. Set in the 60s, it just felt like it should look like the Eagle. And what did the Eagle have? It had really, really good artists working for it.
Yeah.
So I'm having to draw a comic with really, really good arts. And I'm not very good at that.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of work. I'm going to hold my hands up. I'm tracing almost everything digitally. But
well, explain that a bit more then. So what, you've got characters in it.
We decided, because we knew it was set in the 60s, and I think Ray wrote it and could almost see it filmed. So he knew who the actors would be. So we've cast it. There's only 3 actors in it. We've got Lawrence Harvey, who was in Espresso Bongo with Cliff Richard.
Right.
We've got Rita Tushingham.
Of course you have.
And we've got Lionel Jeffries. And
so are you sort of like taking stills?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going through films that these people have been in and getting shots of them and then putting them digitally, manipulating them, putting them into scenes together.
How interesting.
Interesting, quite. It's a lot of work because I storyboarded it all first, and then I've been going through the films and looking for shots that kind of match my storyboard. Here's one. I can show you, actually. I've got my iPad here. So this is where Elman, he's been awake all night, and it's now morning, like 9 a.m. And he's thinking, well, I might as well get myself shaved and dressed. And I can show you the different layers that I've been working with. So you see, we've got someone having a shave, and then here's Lawrence Harvey in a mirror. It was really great getting to bits of films and you think, oh, I can use that. He's in the bathroom, he's having a shave, this is great. And then I'm starting to put the artwork of, I'm kind of tracing it over the top.
I sort of stopped, but for a little while, when Star Wars came back recently, they issued some comics and I started buying them. I stopped buying them because they're not very good, really. They're just not very good. But some of the artists in that, I think, are definitely doing something similar.
Right, yeah.
Because I think, I think that it's just something a little odd about, Han Solo's face. It's like, well, not odd, but you just recognize it. It's like, I've seen that face. I've seen that expression.
Yeah.
And to be honest, it sometimes doesn't work. It sometimes looks like you can just sort of tell.
Yeah.
And there's a sort of slightly stilted feel to it. Are you finding that at all? Do you find it sometimes doesn't work? Do you feel like sometimes... I guess what I'm saying is, can you sometimes tell that there's traced photographs, or do you think are you getting away with that?
I think you probably tell.
I don't even know if that's bad. I don't even know if I'm saying that that's bad in itself.
No. It's...
okay, let me put it another way. Are you sometimes having to change expressions, or is that really hard? Is it really hard to change an expression of an actor once you've...
I'm finding it quite difficult because I'm not kind of trained in drawing faces from imagination. But I think I've done it on a couple. It's kind of easy to make someone's eyes look angrier than they are in the photo.
Right, yeah.
The mouth is a little bit more difficult. The eyes are actually, I know a lot of people would say it's all in the, the person's character is all in the eyes, but finding the eyes quite easy to work with. Getting the mouth right it's quite a challenge. And I don't think it's technique that I would use again. I think I would rather come up with another way. It's been a really interesting exercise in problem solving.
It sounds like a colossal amount of work.
It's a ridiculous amount of work. It's a stupid, foolhardy amount of work. But I want to do it. I want to see if I can do it.
How?
None of us are expecting it to sell. Ray's kind of give me permission that he's not looking for any money from this. So if I sell any, it's kind of, it's kind of for me. But I'm not really looking to make any money from it. It's more that it's something I really want to
how far into it are you?
I'm halfway.
Okay.
I've done, and this is only.
I expect you to say yes, to be honest.
No, I've been doing it for over a year, on and off.
There's 10 pages.
Yeah.
So you could read it in half an hour. No,
less than that.
Right. That's the thing with comics, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's like the thing with the Love and Rockets and the Hernandez guys. They're doing it. I mean, their comic is in real time.
Yes, that's right.
You wait 2 years for a comic which will cover the last 3 years of Maggie's life. And, you read it in half an hour.
Yeah, it's crazy. But I'm finding it very rewarding as well to do it. And I think once it's done, I will be really pleased to look at it and say, I made that. I've actually managed it.
Will you will you take it to some zine fairs and things like that, maybe?
How do you take a 20-page comic to a zine fair? And if you look at 20 pages, it is actually 10 pages, isn't it? It's printed on both sides. I'm not sure how. I would need other stuff to take as well, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. There's this sort of area of very tiny, short run zines. I'm kind of fascinated by it. Well, I mean, here's the thing. I mean, we're talking about comics and you're the person who's done a comic. But I sort of feel like I owe pretty much everything in my life to comics. I really do. Yeah. I think comics are the reason I went to art school. Art school is where I learned most of what I do, even if it's in music. I learned more from art school than I did from, loads of the techniques and strategies I use in my music I got from art college. And and just comics were the first thing that made me think differently.
Right.
That made me think there isn't a usual, there isn't a normal.
Yeah.
They're the first thing that encouraged me to be different from other people at school and like different things. It's the first time I saw really expressive things. And I'm talking about the 2000 AD, these sort of late 70s, early 80s comics where I kind of think a kind of artists like Mike McMahon, Kevin O'Neill were really doing something quite expressive and not, it wasn't like Marvel is the thing. It wasn't just, I can show you actually. I got a little bit of Mike McMahon here to show you. This is one of my favorite comics ever. He drew Judge Dredd mainly, but for just 2 issues, he drew Doctor Who.
All right.
He drew Tom Baker in Doctor Who magazine. This is one of his spaceships. Very, very amazing sort of stark black and white.
Yeah. Yeah. A bit like Hernandez, actually. There's hardly any shading, is there? It's just black or white and that's it.
And there's Tom Baker.
That's brilliant, isn't it?
But like incredibly... can you see this character here with the boots here and stuff?
Yeah.
Like his proportions, they look like woodcuts to me.
Yeah.
There's like a Cyberman. Look at that. And and I think, I saw that art way before I understood things like or knew about things like Picasso or that kind of non-representational art. Was kind of, I mean, it is representational, but it's very expressionistic, isn't it?
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that sort of stuff, is sort of why I'm doing everything. So thanks, Mike.
I did. Come on, there's more to tell about Mike, isn't there?
Well, I mean, I did get to thank him because he did. I did get him to do a cover of one of my records. Later on, he did a cover of mine called "The Violence" for an album about the East Anglian witch trials.
Right,
and he was lovely to work with.
Why did you ask him? Because you'd always wanted to.
Let me see if I can find it. Here it is. I need to pull you out actually to see this.
Wow.
He's very clever.
Really good,
this bit became just a CD artwork, and then it's bigger for the and then inside you have the round heads on this gatefold.
Oh wow, that's great.
Yeah,
that blood red.
Yeah, but then this bit's really good in a way. So this is on the inner sleeve, and this is the Witchfinder General.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, that was a real thrill. He was lovely to work with. As soon as I told him what it was about, he was just so excited. He was like, "What? Hold on! You don't want me to draw Judge Dredd? You don't want me to draw space aliens?" I was like, "No, I want you to draw witches being hung and roundheads and cavaliers." And he was like, "Oh, I'm so into this." And then he said, "Well, what?" And then he said, "What do you want me to do?" And I said, "Well, I want you to do whatever you want. I want you to have total freedom." And he's like, "Oh, don't say that. I hate it when people say that." It's quite funny, that's the thing. Most people, that's the grail most people are looking for as artists, isn't it?
And so, did you just find out how to get in touch with him and just ask him?
Yeah. It's one of those sort of early internet stories, really, because I kind of always thought a little bit what happened to him. He seemed to be drawing Judge Dredd every week, and he seemed to be getting wilder and wilder. He's sort of always constantly experimenting with style, and I could see in a way that he might be getting harder to read in a way.
Right. Yeah.
And we were talking about the other day about the clarity of comics sometimes.
Yeah.
We were talking the other day about how comic artists can sometimes be very sort of fantastic art, but can you definitely see what's happening in the panels?
Yeah.
I think in that documentary about Love and Rockets, you got me to watch, I think Gilbert talks about it as cartooning.
Yeah.
He calls it good cartooning. It's like some artists are good artists, but they're not good cartoonists. Yeah. And he just seemed to disappear. And I didn't know what happened to him. And I thought, I wonder how I can find him. I wonder how I could get him to do a record. And what you do is you look him up on the internet, you find his webpage and he's there, and you just email him and you ask him. And then he says, yeah, you know. I remember being shocked at how little it was, actually. I was getting ready. Because that's what it was. I kind of put a certain amount of money aside to do the cover. And then he told me how much it was. I said, well, do you want to do the inside cover? Do you want to do a sleeve as well? So,
yeah.
You know, which I think he really enjoyed as well, because I think he had more than, you know, he had more than just the one idea for it. So we got to use his...
yeah. Really good. I think he
was... A real thrill. A really, really big thrill to have him do that. I've also up here, let me show you actually something else. Up here on my wall, it was all kind of generated, but he gave me these sheets of the thumbnails. So these are all the thumbnails and different ideas. These are ideas that weren't a witch and a familiar. There's another one here. And then here you can see like a thumbnail where he got the idea for the inner sleeve. Also on one of the bits of paper, he gave me a just a free Judge Dredd in the corner.
You can see from those sketches what a great artist he is. You know, they're really simple, but he's just got it, hasn't he? You can tell.
Sorry if there's a scratching sound, listeners. I'm just putting the power supply back into my phone.
I think I was in the vicinity of Mick McMahon the other weekend.
Was he?
Didn't realise. Yeah, so I went to the Lakeland, the Lake. Is it Lakes? The Lakes Comic Arts Festival. It was held for the first time. It's moved to Bowness on Windermere in the Lake District. Beautiful place, and it's like 2 days and 1 night festival about comic arts. And it's very much about comic art as well. It's quite different from a Comic Con, which often moves over into lots of different pop culture and, you know, films and sci-fi.
Oh, I would even go further than that and say actually Comic Con isn't very much about comics at all. Actually, it's very much more about movies now.
Yeah, and this is very about comics. It's they have lots of guests giving talks, lots of comic creators. That's why Jamie Hernandez was up there. Didn't speak to him, but I was walking behind him. What a little man.
Jamie Hernandez and Mike McMahon were at this thing.
And Dave Gibbons. Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, you know, Dave Gibbons is great, but, you know, I'm interested in the other two.
Yeah, they were both there. But I only realised Mike McMahon was there when I got back home.
Oh.
Yeah.
So does that mean he's got something new out, possibly?
Well, I don't know. Actually. Not necessarily. Some of them, they just...
you know, sign the old stuff or something.
There to talk. Yeah, and do signings and stuff. Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you find... Well, I suppose that lineup's never going to happen again. I mean...
Probably not.
I'd like to go to one of these with you, and I'd certainly... I never met him. Our correspondence was all by email.
Right, yeah. I think we should go to one.
Yeah.
I'd like to do the weekend.
Well, I mean, the other point I was getting to very slowly is that, you know, I did draw comics when I was young, and I think on another one of these, I'll get out some of my old comics because they're very funny. But I've said this to you a few times. I still think I kind of want to draw a comic as well one day.
Yeah,
I feel like I've got a comic in me, and I feel like I might even just do a page of a comic, one day on one of these, because I've just never done it. As soon as I started getting into guitars, that kind of ambition went. But I do still think about it.
And
I have opinions on comics. I look at comics and I think, no, that's wrong. Do you know what I mean? I have the arrogance about comics, and so if I have the arrogance to have those opinions about it, I don't know.
I think it's interesting. Go on.
No, that's all right. I'm just waffling. I sort of, I don't know whether it would be like this, like what I'm doing now. I don't know what the panels would look like. I feel like I'd want them to be black and white. Yeah.
Well, that's the same with me. When I started doing my comic, it was like, this story is dictating what it has to look like, and it's not necessarily what I would have wanted to draw a comic to look like. But it's kind of like, well, I have to draw it this way. It's the story's telling me.
What are you drawing now? What are you drawing now?
Alan Moore again. So.
Oh, okay. I thought it was. I thought it was talking to a little fish.
No, it does look like that. I see. I'm making this very long answer.
That's all right.
If you want to start another painting,
I might. I'm just letting this.
I feel like I'm going to give the viewers some epic viewing time here. We've got any?
I'll put this aside. Right.
What I've noticed about when I've been doing this comic, and possibly makes me wonder if other comic artists might be the same, and I don't think Hernandez would be. But my main goal is purely to finish it. And so some of the artistic decisions have kind of been put to one side a little bit. So if I look at something and say, is that exactly how I want this panel to look? Often it's not. But is this panel kind of finished? Has it got something in the panel that tells us what's happening? And if the answer is yes, I move on to the next one.
Yeah, I think that might be one of the hardest things about being a comic artist. And I think that's where I'd struggle in that to do, if anyone's watched more than 2 or 3 of these, they'll see some days I'm having a good day and sometimes I'm not, and sometimes you're having a good day and sometimes you're not. Like there's a real variance in quality.
Yeah.
And it's that consistency. I just have no idea how they how you keep that consistency going page after page. And with Jaime Hernandez, I mean, that consistency never seems to drop, to my mind.
He's just a really good artist, I think, isn't he?
Yeah, really good.
Settled in his style as well. Certainly nice.
Yeah, real economy of line. He's just a beautiful artist, but he's a real storyteller as well.
Right. I've yet to read any of his stuff. I have got some. I bought a couple of the,
if you or anyone watching wants a starting point, I would recommend this one. This is called The Love Bunglers.
Right.
And it's not that old. And this might be one of the best ones he's done. And all of his books focus around a whole group of characters, but mainly this character called Maggie the Mechanic. And she's grown up from, you've seen her entire life in comics. He started drawing her in 1980, and now she's a woman in her 60s, and she grows up in real time, which can seem really daunting, and you wouldn't know where to start. But yeah, books like that, The Love Bungalow, stands up perfectly fine as a story in its own. You don't need to have read the rest of her life just to read this one really good story. It's all fine. Cool, you need to do a bit of... I'm trying to draw a comic page now. You need to do a bit of maths to work out the panels, don't you?
Yeah, you do. Yeah. Or just rough it out. Depends how finished you like to be.
What am I trying to do? I want 4, don't I? So it's going to be about 2.5, isn't it? So there. And there and there. And there and there. And so I suppose I should do those markings somewhere else. God, this feels a bit too much like work already. I don't think I'm cut out for combat.
Did you ever see this drawing I did, comic? This was a comic I did about... So 1-page joke, might be 2 pages once it's printed. It's about something called Weather Club.
What?
And it's a group of weather enthusiasts, but they're particularly enthusiastic about weather reports on radio and in television. And what it is, I think I dreamt this. It's a weather reenactment society. And they reenact weather reports. Kind of like detectorists. So I did this little comic where...
Let me have a look here. Let me have a look. Oh, that's you.
Me. That's me, yeah. I always, draw what you know. I'm the cheapest model I can find. So we got me saying, I was setting a microphone here, like Brian said no, but I insisted, can't be Envision, has to be this way. And then when you get to the main Weather Club huts, I'm doing the shipping forecast over speakers. So it's like the radio.
Well, here's another one for your stall at a zine fair.
Yeah. I've done 2 of those. I did someone recreating Michael Fish saying there's not going to be a hurricane.
Well, possibly the most famous weather forecast ever, right?
Yeah, and I was wondering how many famous weather forecasts can you find? And I can literally just think of the hurricane one and then the more general shipping forecast. But that was fun, coming up with little, like, jokes like that are very, like, simple and they don't take much setting up or anything.
I suppose that's the thing as well. I mean, I think, possibly I am a bit of a storyteller in terms of songs, but you're much more of a narrative artist. You have words.
I do. I thought,
your pictures tell stories already in a way. I mean, mine do too, but in a different kind of way.
Yeah. But I think my comics stories, I'm quite new to comics. Apart from, when I was a kid, obviously, I think all kids read comics. But there was certainly a time when I stopped reading comics completely. And it wasn't really until very recently that I got back into it. I'd pick up the odd graphic novel, say like Chris Ware. When I worked at Waterstones, if a Chris Ware book came in, so interesting, I had to buy it, look at it. But it didn't lead me on to other graphic novels, weirdly. I'm not sure why. Sometimes I like that. Don't always dig as deep as maybe I could do. But it was 2019 that I started getting back into comics. And I've kind of been a little bit obsessed since. Watch a lot of comic stuff online.
Yeah,
I've shared stuff with you. The YouTube channel Cartoonist Kayfabe. I've watched a lot of that and learned a lot from it.
Link some of these things at the bottom of this, so people can find these things. Also, because that Hernandez brothers Love and Rockets documentary is on YouTube, isn't it? So we could link to that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Spread the love.
It's a really good documentary. I enjoyed it.
Oh, and also after the Beatles one the other day, and we were saying nothing is real, we're friends of ours, one of them brought a painting of me.
Yeah.
So
he now owns a Hayman and a Riley then.
Wow, how many people can say that? I mean, me and you can say it.
Yeah. Maybe a handful.
Yeah, I don't think he's the only person. We do have a bit of crossover, don't we?
Yeah. Some of my Twitter friends were playing a little game amongst themselves of how many of them owned the Riley and the Peter Blake. And there was about 5. But obviously they weren't original Peter Blakes. Maybe Emma. Maybe Emma Townsend's is the original Peter Blake.
Oh yeah, she would have an original Peter Blake, I'm sure. Yeah. I don't think Emma's got one of mine though.
Right. I wonder how many of our friends have got Peter Blake, a Hayman, and a Riley. 3 or 4, I'm guessing.
Robert Rutherford might.
Sorry?
Robert Rutherford might. He might have those 3.
Yeah. So yeah, I've been devouring comics recently. I agree with you. I think they're over very quickly when you're reading them. So I rarely buy just like 1 issue paper comics. Because they're like £5 for hardly any reading time whatsoever.
Yeah, I really support it as an art form. I really support the brevity of it. The idea that all this work goes into, just a few little things, a few little pages. But yeah, I must admit, I don't quite know when I see all those things. I don't quite know what to do with them. Oh, I've got a comic to show you.
Yeah.
That's the only time I went to one of these zine fairs. I bought this.
What was that?
I don't know whose this is. I don't know who did this, but we'll have to get a link to them. The title of this comic is...
No. What's this? I like them. Who's done that? Stanley Miller. Stanley Miller. Do I know his son? He rings a bell, I think I've got something by his son.
Why do you think it's his son? Because you think the person you brought had a dad called Stan?
No, Stanley Miller's an English artist, right?
I have no idea. I just picked this up because it said Darren on it. And I brought it off the person.
Millertown, Henry Miller. I'm gonna try and find him. I think Stanley Miller and Henry Miller are father and son team. I think Henry might be the father. Darren, it is. Yes. Bear with me. I'm going to try and find him. I've got by him. Where is it? I can't find it. It could take a while. He did one called Bullseye Contestants. And it was just, over 50 Bullseye contestant drawings. And it would tell you what their job was, like butcher or unemployed, bus driver, stuff like that. And there were no jokes in it whatsoever, yet it's absolutely hilarious. By treating them just
straight.
Totally straight, yeah, it just makes it really funny. And I think he sometimes puts Jim Bowen would often say, I understand you have a funny story that you'd like to tell us, Brian. And got all that sort of stuff in. So yeah, I love that guy. He's another guy, he does record cover paintings like me. It's how I found him. But I prefer his to mine, but I suppose a lot of artists would say that anyway.
Well, I mean, that's because you didn't make it in a way, isn't it?
Yes.
I also prefer all music that I didn't make.
yeah, exactly, yeah. But he's really good. He's really good. A great sort of unique sense of humour. It's great to see that.
Let's link him up as well down the bottom.
Yes, definitely. He's got an exhibition of his record covers. It's cancelled. Oh, it was going to have an exhibition in Margate, but it's been cancelled. That's a shame. He's looking for any ideas. He says he's got an exhibition ready to go. He's from London. Anywhere that might take him? I'll put you two together.
No, I don't really. I don't know. I don't know anything about exhibiting, really. I struggle myself. In fact, if anyone's watching this and they've got a gallery and they want to exhibit someone, don't exhibit this guy we were just talking about. Exhibit me.
No, exhibit me.
Okay, but yeah, basically not the guy we've just been, bigging up. So yeah, I'm going to fulfill a long-held ambition here, and in front of you, I'm drawing my first comic in probably, I don't know, 30 years or something.
So you know what's happening in this, do you? You worked that out?
Not entirely.
Right?
No. We talked about it. You said I said I might do a comic panel in one of these, or just a page, and just try and do a sequential story. And I think earlier today I was thinking, how would I do it? And I kind of, normally at this year, I as you might remember, I make a bit of money drawing robins.
Right.
And so I thought I'd have a robin in it. And I've got a red mixed up here already. So let's give him a little red best. What did I say earlier? If I did a comic, it would be black and white.
Straight in with the colour.
Straight in with the colour, yeah.
Different pen. I'm doing Alan Moore's hair, and I think.
Mistake. Wait, I'm coming back.
No mistake. No mistakes in arts.
See, this Robin's turning his head, really, and I haven't really thought that the red would be the other side, wouldn't it, if he's turning his head?
Right. Ah.
I think we'll get away.
I'm doing Alan Moore's hair here, and I think Becky would take one look and just say, he needs some conditioner.
I have sung on stage with Alan Moore.
Have you?
Yeah.
Why? Were you in Hawkwind?
I was doing a show with Robin Ince, and Robin Hitchcock was there, and he wanted. He came into the dressing room, and there's lots of different people there, and said, "Right, who's going to do backing vocals for me?" And it was me, Stuart Lee, Kevin Eldon, Alan Moore, and Robin Ince doing backing vocals for Robin Hitchcock at the Bloomsbury Theatre.
What was it? A song that I might recognise, or
I'm not very good on. It wasn't an album. It wasn't a song off the album I Know by Robin Hitchcock. I would remember it if someone told me what it was.
It wasn't a Soft Boys song.
No, it wasn't a Soft Boys song. No. There's a photo of this. I remember the next day seeing a photo of it, thinking, I should keep that photograph, and I never did. And I've gone looking for that photograph online before, since, and been unable to find it, because obviously you'd kind of want a photo of that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
I guess it exists as a pub, a tall tale for me to tell in a pub.
I remember being on honeymoon in New York, and we went into a record store in New York, wasn't it? Not a shop. And I just heard, just as a song was finishing, they were playing music in the record store like they do. Song was finishing, and then the next one started, and it's going, I want to destroy you. And it was the first time I'd ever heard that song.
Yeah, that's a good song.
Yeah, so I'm immediately at the counter, like, who's this? Who's this? The whole album, Underwater Moonlight.
Yeah, it's my favorite. Great. I mean, I feel. I know how annoying it is for me when people sort of like my first album. It's like, oh, come on. But
yeah, well, it's good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I do. That is my favourite Robin Hitchcock album, Underwater Moonlight.
Because it's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. I kind of like him being a little less whimsical. I think he's kind of quite serious in his intent on that record. And I think as he's got older, I think the appeal of Robin Hitchcock is how silly and wacky his songs are. I quite like it when he was a serious young man.
Yeah, I mean, that album has got some whimsy, but it's also doesn't feel like it's trying to be whimsical. It just comes across as very natural. And there's still anger in it. That song is a very angry song. There's some great angry lyrics about the media and stuff. Really, really good.
Is this the longest Brentwood tuxedo we've ever made?
It is. Well, I've not kept an eye on what time we started, but I'd say it is. Yeah, gonna be. I might need a bigger hard drive. I'm kind of enjoying this. This is kind of like drawing club, isn't it?
It's like it's like the first. It's also like the first few Brentwood tuxedos before we started chasing the money.
Yeah.
I mean, unsuccessfully chasing the money, but
I was going to say, if you tuned in hoping for a reaction video, you're very wrong. But if you did tune in hoping for a reaction video, you won't be watching this bit because you'll have turned it off already.
I'm prepared to say now, there's probably not more than 2 people alive in the world in the future or 50 years in the future that have ever watched this bit that's happening now.
This is where I can safely make my serial killer confession and will never get caught.
Yeah, see, that's the thing, isn't it? We should like bury information in these videos.
Like Zodiac.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll reveal who the Zodiac killer is.
I'm enjoying doing this automatic sort of beard drawing here, getting the texture. Do you remember the film The Medusa Touch?
Yeah, very much.
Sorry?
Very much.
Very much?
Yeah, very much. No, I know that film well.
This reminds me of what I'm drawing now, reminds me of the end where the his brain monitor starts coming to life after they switched it off. And you got
scared the living shit out of me, that film, when I first saw it.
Yeah.
What's the name?
Me too.
Not Sellafield. It's the old name. What's the name of the nuclear power station?
Windscale.
Windscale. And he's scrawly. It's going, Windscale.
Yeah.
Windscale.
Yeah. That's which I can plug another comic. Giving me opportunities to plug other work. This was my Des Lynam comic. So it starts off with Des.
Oh, are you saying? I said earlier you could take your comic when you finish it to a scene. It's like, well, I haven't got any other comics to sell, and then you spent the rest of the video going, "That's brilliant comics."
This is very me saying I've not got anything when I've got a lot of stuff. Yeah, we get some disturbing news from Windscale. We're hearing there's been an explosion and at least three people are dead. Chris, what can you tell us about the explosion? And then we got Chris Kamara. Explosion, Des? I didn't see anything. This is the next page. So Des says, you must have heard a bang. And Chris is going, I heard a bang, but I thought it was... And he's being obliterated in a nuclear explosion. Yeah, that's my Des Lynam comic. That will be ready, but I've only got one issue and I need 2 issues, I think, to go back to back. I've got a big list of things that I need to finish.
I think I finished my comic.
Why am I laughing?
It's very sad, isn't it? It's quite a sad comic, isn't it? I've drawn.
Oh, I see. You think the Robin's lonely and...
Yeah, I think someone came. He said hello.
Yeah.
The other Robin fucked off, and now he's on his own.
I don't think that's sad. I think that's just very Robin-like. They're quite solitary birds.
I suppose, yeah, it's all in your interpretation. He could just be saying, fuck off, Robin, in this panel, couldn't he?
I think they're just saying, all right. And then that's it. He's off. See ya. We have a Robin in our garden, and he's always on his own, or her own. Just sits in a hedge, and then nips out to the bird feeder now and again. But it's like really lightning fast visit to the bird feeder. Likes to go back to the hedge and just stay in the safety. Well, I've kind of done my Alan Moore portrait.
Yeah, so I did my comic, and I also did this scene. This night scene.
Yes, and that I didn't say at the time. It's really, really good, that.
Yeah, I'm pretty pleased with it, actually.
Yeah. Should be.
From last night, after the storm cleared. I was over in Acton.
Right, I see, yeah. Well, that's been
the longest video we've ever done.
Yep.
I mean, I think you could tell. I think you could look at our work and say...
Yes.
I mean, we didn't slouch, did we?
We didn't slouch at all. No. In fact, I'm gonna keep working on this, but off camera.
Shall I say goodbye?
Yeah, say goodbye.
Goodbye, Darren.
Bye, Darren.